Laura, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
There we go. So now you have to be the person in charge of putting it forward.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Well, we're going to get this together at some point, people. Do we still have the chat enabled?
Do.
People can question and answer?
Yes, we do have it.
All right. So I'm going to do my best to go through the plants that we have for our plant forum. I did get a sneak peek, so I took a few notes. But if anybody has any questions, if anybody's out there, you can send it in as a question, and Erin can tell me, or I may be able to see it on the screen. Just as a background, the picture that's up right now is one of our in-person plant forums that we used to hold when we had live meetings. So, oh, I'm echoing. Oh, okay. Not sure how to do that any better. I can turn
You sound fine on my end.
Okay. I'll turn it down a little bit. Members were welcome to bring in anything interesting, exciting from their gardens, and we would have little cards, and we would go through them at our meetings. And so now we're going to try to do this virtually. So let's look at the first slide.
All right.
All right, so this photograph was sent in by Sandy Masuo, and it's a picture of her Calabanus hookeri, a Mexican boulder plant. These are really interesting caudex forming plants, meaning they have a swollen stem, and in this case they have kind of almost look like a boulder, really. And then they have this kind of wiry hair-like foliage that comes out of the top of it. And Sandy writes, the name is from Caliban, the monster from Shakespeare's play The Tempest. It's now in the genus Bocarnia, which includes ponytail palms, its much bigger cousin, but she's going to keep calling it Calabanus until somebody makes her stop. These are neat, really neat plants, great for potted areas. I think they're from Southern Africa, so they are very heat and drought tolerant. The species is dioecious, meaning that each individual plant is either male or female. So in order to get seeds, you have to find a corresponding plant of the different sex. So this is the first time that Sandy's plant has bloomed, and I don't know how to help her identify if the plant is male or female. It may be up to you have to really look at the flowers closely. Okay. Next slide. Here we go. This is sent in from April Curtis. This is Senecio Confucius, a Mexican flame vine, and this is a really beautiful Senecio. Senecio is a very large genus involving everything that looks more like a succulent to this, which looks more like a tropical vine. But they all tend to be very heat tolerant, and a lot of them have these really gorgeous flowers. So the Mexican flame vine it's a small vine. I don't think it gets real big. It can go sort of deciduous if it's very cold. It doesn't seem to like the cold too much, but it has these beautiful, very bright flowers most of the time. Next. Okay, and April also sent in a picture of Eucalyptus Macrocarpa, the big-leaved Maui. And this is a great plant I've actually seen at the Huntington. And those flowers, you can't really tell from the picture, but they're almost as big as your hand. So they are huge flowers, and these beautiful, big, really beautiful silver leaves. It's kind of an odd plant. It looks like a big floppy stem with these gorgeous flowers. There are some at the Huntington if you want to see them in person, but really a neat eucalyptus. Okay, next. And April also sent in a photo of, April Curtis also sent a photo of Cumbretom fruticosum, orange flame vine. And I believe this is an Australian plant. or South African. Didn't do my, oh, sorry, it says native to South America. I can read. Anyway, it's pretty spectacular when it's in flower. It has these kind of bottle brush like flowers. I remember there used to be one out at the late great Pearson's nursery in Pasadena. It had grown out of the can and was climbing the fence way at the back of the nursery, and nobody ever noticed it unless it was in flower. And then it was just crazy full of bees, and everybody like, what is that? And they would never have any. So I'm glad April managed to find one. Looks like she purchased it at San Gabriel Nursery. Okay, next. April also sent in a photo of purslane, tricolor or variegated purslane. These are great little plants. They're sometimes, they're related to moss rose. If you know moss rose, it's used as a little annual in the hot part of the year, and just has these really brilliantly colored flowers. This one has variegated foliage, and I guess it probably only has the magenta flowers, but the moss rose varieties also come in like white and orange and red and yellow. They are really annuals. They are not, they don't really make it through the winter, but if you save the seeds, you might be able to get some again the next year. It's also related to, I think, Calandrinia, which is the much bigger cousin that has those kind of silvery leaves and the bright pink flowers. Okay, next. And Yoav Paskowitz sent in this photo of a plant I've never even heard of, Ipamea aquatica, or water spinach, which I don't really know anything about except what he says. It looks really neat, beautiful flowers. I guess it's edible. Ipamea would mean it's in the sweet potato family. And a lot of those are edible, but you have to be a little careful. Some of them, the leaves at least can be, at least make you sick. Apparently the leaves on this one are edible. Yeah, that's really neat and a beautiful flower. Fun to have plants that are not only edible, but also lovely.
And
Okay,
when Yoav sent in this photo, he did send in about, there were like 8 other common names for it as well, and all of them were of Asian origin. So if you search the Latin name, you're probably going to see a lot of other nicknames as well.
Okay, well, and maybe Florence will have something to say about it. And he also sent in this photo of an unknown plant. I'm pretty sure that's a Mentzelia, blazing star, maybe Mentzelia laticalis. Very spectacular plant, especially when it's blooming. It's native to California and I think into Nevada and Arizona. It's more of a desert plant, and mostly I think they're annuals. And it's funny because he said that, you know, somebody saw this in a garden, looks like it was on a curb in Los Feliz, and I actually ran into one. I live in Ventura, and I ran into one here. So probably it was sold at like Theater Payne Foundation or something, and they're just blooming now, and they're really spectacular plants. I never had any luck getting it to re-bloom or reflower and or reseed in my yard, but maybe you could do that at your house. Oh, it's April Curl says, how do you spell Nunzelia? It's Mentzelia, blazing star, if you look it up. Mentzelia. And I'm not positive on the species, but probably one called laticalis. I think that's the most common one to find. All right, next. And Carol Bornstein sent in one of our iconic California native plants that's blooming in the fall, which is Epilobium Canon, or California fuchsia. Really beautiful, hummingbirds love this plant, really important nectar plant in the fall. Couple notes on the name. You know, a lot of people came here from other parts of the world, and they saw our California native plants and they said, oh, looks like a fuchsia. Nothing to do with the garden fuchsias that are actually in the genus fuchsia. The epilobiums are really a completely different culture to the garden fuchsias. And now we are calling it Epilobium Canon, the recently changed name from Zauschneria Canon, which was kind of more fun to say, and it's always fun to have Z words, but I guess we're gonna have to get used to Epilobium. These are great plants. They do kind of grow, they do need to be cut back to the ground once a year once they're done flowering, and you can see all that fluffy bits are seeds. They can seed around and they can also grow by runners, but usually, especially in a native garden, more is better in the fall. Okay, next. And then I sent in a bunch of photos of Mangaves. I have a tiny collection of Mangaves. And Mangaves are intergeneric hybrids of agave and Manfreda, usually Manfreda Maculosa. Manfreda Maculosa is also known as Texas tuberose. It's a North American species of perennial plant that has unlike agaves that only flower once, the Manfredas actually flower over and over without dying. So they are very closely related. They're also related to true tuberose or polyanthes. And a mad breeder in Michigan, Hans Hansen of Walter's Gardens in Michigan, apparently has been crossing these Manfredas and agaves, and he's come out with this whole bunch of new varieties. And this is one of them. This is Mayan Queen, and likely has Manfreda and probably agave gypsophila, or agave, sometimes I guess it's now called Pablo Carilioi in its background. But a lot of the Manfredas will flower, and they have a lot of those spotty and lavender color. And it should have a fragrant flower when it does flower. I'm not sure if any of these are gonna flower more than once or just do their thing like their agave parents, but I guess we'll just have to see. Next. And this is another Mangave. This is Lavender Lady. And probably has agave macroacantha in its background, and then crossed with a Manfreda. And by the way, all the information that I got on Mangaves is available on the San Marcos Growers website, and I think also Plant Delights website, which is out of, I think they're in North Carolina, South Carolina. They're both, Randy Baldwin at San Marcos Growers and Tony Avent at Plant Delights are big plant breeders, and they've been supportive of introducing more of these really interesting plants. So that's also where you can get them. They have varying sizes. Most of them seem to be a single rosette. These are all growing in a pot that's only about 14 inches wide. So far they're behaving themselves. Next one. And this one is, I just love the name. It's Mission to Mars. And it's got more of a purpley red color, and the spotting is so dense that the leaves are really almost a kind of a full red. And this one actually has some agave shawii in its background, and agave shawii is one of our California native agaves. So that's kind of an extra bonus. It also has a little bit of a more pokey tip to the leaves. Next. And then this is actually Mangave Macho Mocha, which I had for several years. And that's actually in the ground. The rest of them are in pots. And you can see this one is actually clustering. It has more pups behind the main rosette there. It hasn't flowered for me yet. This one looks a lot more to me like what Manfreda Maculosa looks like, more strappy leaves. And they're thin, they're not stiff like an agave leaf. And a lot more spotting. This is one of the older hybrids, and according to San Marcos website, they're not really sure what its parentage is, but it's actually been used in the breeding program for some of those newer varieties that we just showed you. Okay, one more slide. And I also sent in a picture of Moria Polystachia, peacock flower, because it's fun and because it's always a fun treat to have bulbs that bloom at this time of the year. I let it go dormant in the summer. It's in a pot. And then if I give it a drink in September, all of a sudden it just starts sending up leaves, and then it blooms by the end of September, when pretty much all my other summer dormant bulbs are still asleep. So it's kind of fun to have this little guy. It's not a big plant. It's only about probably 18 inches tall. Those flowers are not real big. It can be weedy. This is one of the plants, if you go to the Huntington and in the cactus garden, you'll see it blooming all over the place in September. I'm not sure they're still excited about that plant, but I like it. So Moria, Polystachia. And I think that concludes our plant forum. I hope right on time. All
yeah,
right.
perfect. And also Carol A did say that her Macho Mocha bloomed at one of her clients and it did not die. So
all right.
That's promising for the rest of the Mangaves.
Yeah, so if anybody gets into Mangaves and wants to send us information from their own gardens, we're happy to add that to the information pile.
All right, well, thank you, Laura. Thank you so